Origin just home CGBX, and this is the 77th Infantry Division in World War II, featuring the Federation unsubscribed podcast, obviously. Yeah, he already made the video about 77th Infantry Division. I'm pretty sure, like, those old division, right? 30 plus, apparently that's old. Old Bastard or something, that was their nickname. Was an awesome story, how overpowered they were. Obviously, like, if you're like 30, 35, like, you have more wisdom than, I guess, you're like 18 or 20, obviously. Physically, you might not be as like 100% as that. In today's world, like, that's debatable, right? Like 20 to 40 is like, it makes so much, not much that much of difference. But yeah, back then there would be like, yeah, with the, like, diet, food, and nutrition based on that, like, yeah, but still, like, their experience more than made up for it, and they were like way too overpowered. I guess he's going to talk about that more and other topics as well. One thing I realized, like, there are multiple topics in clips like this, so it's going to be interesting. Let's do it.
And I had breakfast with like this random guy that emailed me recently because he was passing through Mason City, which immediately sketchy. And every time I bring a gun, sketchy. And every time it's like a 70-year-old man that just wants to say hi to me. It's the most adorable thing on the planet. I'm looking for I walk in immediately, open the door, step left with the wall to my fucking back, scan. Every time it's a 70 to 85-year-old man. Mr. Fat Electrician, sir. And it's like, oh, this is adorable. So I meet this dude.
And Nick's audience base is like, you have 80% and 75 and over. It's just old people
it's
watching.
A lot of older people, actually. It's a lot.
I imagine like him just telling his grandkids, I met the man on the talking box on the wall. And they're like, that's really cool. That's really cool, Grandpa. I bet you did.
100%. It happens. So like... basically this guy, like, he comes, he had books, he had fucking newspaper clippings, and he's like, he told me this whole story. His dad.
I think it's time we talk to him about that community we looked at. Right? He's already talking to the TV's talking back.
Oh, this is the sweetest story.
No, but I did. I really met him. I feel spry as a spring chicken.
But no, this dude, he brought like a book that he wrote and then a bunch of newspaper articles and sources. He just wanted me to do a video on the unit that his dad fought in World War II. And I was like,
yeah, look, man, age can be a number, right? This might be bad comparison right now with everything going, but like, indubitably Vince McMahon, right? The dude is like 80 right now. Just like everything going on right now is like just past 2-3 years. But before that, he was just there, right? He was getting F5s from Brock Lesnar and things like that in the ring. He's like still sharp, still like leading the company. He was like 75 or 76 at that time. You can debate his decision or whatever, but he was doing that. So, I mean, and he was dead, obviously, with steroids and things, but he was jacked at that age, which is insanity, right? So, a lot of Federation stories, he talked about all the badass people, even in the 70s or 75 or whatever, they were still badass, right? So, I guess it depends. Like, yeah, age can be a number, just a number. Like, it depends on the people.
fuck, okay, tell me about it. Like, you know, like, I can only do so much. And this dude had all the research done, and it was the 77th Infantry Division in World War II, and it was like basically an experiment. It was the first unit in World War II that was comprised of all draftees, and the average age of them was 33. So like, it was literally an entire division of middle-aged men with families and kids that they sent into World War II as like an experiment to see like, okay, can a 30-year-old still hack it? They were, don't quote me on this.
They had the best coffee.
Bro, so listen to this.
They
were supposed to be
at live too.
I think D-Day there was 11 divisions that stormed the beach at Normandy. I think there was supposed to be 12. This was the 12th. They like nah, we're not sending you there. So they were the first army division to go over with the fucking Marine Corps in the Pacific, and they were just fucking shit up. And the Marines started calling them the 77th Marine Division because they were so fucking good. And they started calling them, their nickname is the Old Bastards because it was a bunch of 33-year-old men just fucking not about being here at all.
Yeah, because like, you got a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds.
Yeah, they're like literally grown-ass men with kids going in and fighting this war. And that one, like the name came from a 19-year-old Marine that famously said, like, look at those old bastards go as they were storming a beach on a Japanese island during an amphibious landing. And so they fought all throughout the Pacific, and then there was one island that was holding out after the Japanese had surrendered with like 5,000 Japanese troops on it, because that was a huge issue at the time, because all the Japanese guys like, that's propaganda. It's not true. Japan would never surrender. And they're like, eventually they're like, okay, fine, we're going to surrender, but we're only going to surrender. They had gotten island hopped, and they're like, we're going to surrender, but we're only going to surrender to the 77th Infantry Division, because those guys were kicking our asses so hard that if we are going to lose, we only want to lose to them. So they had to actually send representatives from the 77th Army Division over to accept the surrender from these Japanese officers.
It makes sense. They're a bunch of older guys who fucking hate anime and want to go home and fuck their wives.
Yeah. Those men definitely use racial slurs.
Oh God, Brandon is so right though, right? Imagine that shit, just like, oh God, we have to do this. Like, I'm Timmy at home. I have to like talk to him about school and shit. Like, how long is it gonna take? Everybody just like talking about comics and shit and whatever. They're like, like those cards, sport cards and shit like that. Like, what the fuck is this? And just like, let's just get through this. Let's go.
Dude, they were the dudes.
I mean, it was the greatest generation. They kind of fucking all did.
Dude, like seriously,
You ever met some of those guys? They never stopped.
Grandpa's too old for change.
if you no, like those were the dudes that were doing, like, if you Google Japanese trophy skulls in the Pacific, that was probably those guys. You ever look
Guess
that
what
up?
my grandpa had in
Dope
the
as
attic?
fuck.
Yeah, like what president had to come out and say that
Your grandfather had one?
No, I'm just like
Oh,
those
God.
other people.
Yeah, one like whatever president came out and said, guys, you got to stop taking trophy skulls from the Pacific Islands.
Was it Roosevelt, Truman? Like,
It was one of them. Do you ever look that up? Because so many dudes were. Yeah, so many dudes.
they would boil the fucking skulls and then paint them with like their unit icons and shit. Like,
There is still some Japanese skulls out there with like Marine Raider insignia they painted on them to send back home to their girlfriends. And it got to a point where the president at the time had to say, guys, you can't do this anymore. This
I just imagine that you've been into war so much that this is just normal shit. Like, yeah, it's just skull of my enemy that I painted over. Isn't that cool? Sending home to your girl and she's just like, what the fuck is this? Just like the divide is there now, right? Between civilization and just like no man's land, where everybody just like dog world basically. Everybody just killing each other. That's the divide, like sending skull home, like what the fuck?
is fucked.
You're giving the mailman PTSD. Knock it off. Jesus.
Yeah,
there's a
like,
famous picture.
okay.
There's this famous picture of like the girlfriend getting one in the mail.
They used to. Oh my God, that was what they'd send their spouse.
She doesn't look like
Yeah.
she
Oh, yeah.
dislikes it.
She's like, oh dearie me.
Kind of hot,
Dude, Japanese,
Honest, like
Japanese trophy skulls were a thing.
your guy fucks at war so hard he's sending you back.
Look what he
skulls
did
of
to
the
make it
enemy.
back to me.
I'm just saying, man.
Babe, I love the skull you sent me. It's so white and bleach.
Jesus Christ.
What do you write back to your spouse that sends you a fucking skull?
Also,
I want you to put a third baby in me.
random fact about this. I had a whole comment thread on one of my recent videos roasting me about how fucking stupid I am because I said that World War II ended when Japan surrendered. And apparently a significant portion of European countries don't recognize the Pacific Theater like at all. Like it's just not taught in their
What?
education system. And like World War II ended to them when Germany was defeated. And I was a stupid American capitalist pig for implying that Japan had anything to do with World War II. And I was like, that's really interesting.
Yeah, no
I'm not
shit,
even
you're
mad.
half-
I'm just interested.
You're half the fucking world away from a big fucking problem.
I mean, there are like two different theaters, right? Like, so Europeans don't give a shit about Pacific Theater, but Japan and Germany had that like kind of pact, like you do you there, I'm gonna do me here. None of them liked each other, but that was the pact there, right? You be aggressive there, I'm gonna be aggressive here. We'll keep everybody busy or something. So they are a part of it, right? They are part of that thing. So it's not like Japan was just like doing their thing at the same time where Germany was doing their thing. Not really. Like they had some pact. So Japan was very well part of the World War II. And like if everybody just went home like, oh, that's that, like fuck it. Like, yeah, Japan wouldn't have stopped. They would have like, take over a lot of China, right? Even Indians, right? Fought at Burma and places like that to push back. They pushed back Japanese troop there. They wouldn't have stopped, they would have come back. Attack India, China, America, basically American islands, right? I mean, maybe Europeans like way too far away for them to care, but that's not how it works, right? Americans fought at like European theater, so like you can't just say like, oh, that's your problem. So basically, they were a part of it. Japan was part of it. So of course, they were. The atomic bomb is the point where the war ended, and it's not just about that. It's about symbolism, right? You think Soviet Union wouldn't have like other ideas after that? After Germany fell, like okay, now well, you know, when we recover, we're gonna do something else. Nuclear bombs stopped wars for decades. There is no period before World War II where there is no some kind of war going. But after World War II, after the atomic bombs, there are no major wars until now, basically. But like for like what 70, 80 years, there is no war. That's because of nuclear bomb. That's why there was a cold war and not a hot one. So atomic bomb didn't just end World War II. They ended hot war at all, perfect, completely. And that kind of applies to today as well, because the wars that is happening today, the one country has nukes, another country does not. That's how the wars are going. No two nuclear power is fighting today. So that thing is still going on until two nuclear power fights, right? Atomic bombs did stop the major wars.
We had to nuke those bastards twice, right?
They did probably the worst war crimes. That's a lot of people.
No, not probably. They did
the worst war crimes. Sorry, stand corrected.
The raping of Nanking has entered the chat.
Yeah.
See, that's just
what was it?
fucked up.
Unit
731.
731.
Those, you just need those two stories and be like, oh yeah, they were the bad guys. And when they're like, yeah, we didn't do that, they tried to cover up that piece of history from their own people. You're like, oh, you guys fucked up.
The George Bush Sr. thing, all kinds of shit.
That and the well, yeah, that one was fucking
Those
wild.
big oofs.
Wait, which one?
We'll all read
George
into
Bush Sr.
Go on with that story.
I've told it on the podcast once. They got really mad at me because I said he wasn't shot down. Apparently he was shot down. He escaped. My bad. I was super hammered. I fucked up one little detail of the story.
Like the Gerald Ford.
The first... Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Dude, the comment section.
Henry Ford versus Gerald Ford thing.
Yeah, fucking
You
me,
guys caused
super
him
drunk.
stress.
What's weird is you said Gerald Ford, but I immediately knew that you meant Eric.
Well, and I had just made a video talking about Gerald Ford, so I had said Gerald Ford 500 times in the last 2 weeks, so it just came out that way. It was Henry Ford, my bad. Anyways, George Bush Sr. was a combat pilot in World War II, and one of his first missions was like at the ass end of the Pacific, and him and his entire squadron got shot down on this Japanese island. He was the only one that escaped. Everybody else that got captured got eaten alive by a cannibal group of Japanese soldiers.
Wait, what?
What?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, you can go on.
There are cannibal groups of Japanese World War II soldiers who ate American soldiers. Where'd that come from? What the fuck? And George Bush was the only one who's like lucky, part of the lucky group who escaped and then become the president of the United States. I'm surprised he didn't hold in that, when he became the president, like 1990, right? Right? No, wait a minute. Was it 1988? Yeah, 1988, right? That's when he became president, right? 1988 to 1992, I think, right? In the 92, Clinton came, right? I don't know. But yeah. So George H.W. Bush, so I'm surprised that around that time he wasn't pissed off against Japan even at that time. Like whenever policies are made or anything, to like I'm surprised he didn't make sure that Japan gets like bad deal or something when he was president. I guess he must have done that. I don't know.
You can go on YouTube. Yeah, everybody else in his squadron got eaten alive, and then like 40 years, not 40 years, whatever. However, later he was president, and he like. There's a video of him like passing out and vomiting because somebody's eating something years. And he like has an episode where he remembers, because he didn't find out about this until he was like already president. And he finds out like,
the Japanese were just a little hungrier, 9/11 would have been prevented.
You know?
Fucking Christ.
Wait a minute, is that really true though? Is H.W. Bush the starting point of all that? I mean, Middle Eastern thing was still a thing since the British dropped the map, and it was always chaotic, right? So, would Al-Qaeda and everything, they wouldn't have existed if HW like handled that better? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I'm guessing this is like alternate history help type of shit, but I don't know. It's insane.
The audience didn't like that one.
Holy fuck!
You just heard one person like,
Look, let's just say we all
Not a
could
good
have
crowd.
we all could have prevented 9/11.
Brandon's
When
like,
fucking King
Brandon just-
Trout has that facial expression of all people on the planet.
Better with a sign, King Trout. Just yeah.
you're just like, I'm
How
gonna
could you, Brendan? I thought you were a patriot. How could you say that?
no, scratch that one off. That was that one.
Oh no.
That's a deep cut.
Not good for crowd work.
Note to self, butterfly effects don't always go that great.
That was so good, man. I like how Brendan is running for like, what is it, Senate or something? He doesn't give a fuck, right? He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna say whatever I'm gonna say. There you go. Shit like this comes back to bite you in the ass, I'm guessing, right? Like somebody will play this clip back whenever he's trying to like run for office or something. I don't know. But in today's world, like, does that even matter? Like, yeah, I said what I said. Like, Trump basically made sure like nothing matters. Like, I said what I said. What the fuck you want from me? Right, well, that was the 77th Infantry Division in World War II. The Japan thing. I knew it. Like, every single title. Like, I'm not going to judge these videos from the titles anymore. Because there's going to be more to it. Right, Japan thing surprised me. Like, they were cannibals. Cannibal Japanese soldiers. Who ate American soldiers. Like, I know them, like, all the stories I heard from Electrician. Like, really, like, mistreating soldiers and things because they think less of them because they surrender and all that shit. Right, the story about Japanese story that Federation recently posted just a few videos ago, where they literally starved people, even the pregnant women and things like that, which was like pissed me off. But yeah, but I didn't know they were cannibals too, who just literally ate the soldier. And then there's a Nanking thing. Like, damn, man. I mean, Nazi Germany and Japan in World War II both were competing to be one of the most effed up people on the planet, basically. I mean, think of the like past 2,000-3,000 years of history. The two most fucked up events you'll find is of the World War II of Japan and basically Nazi Germany. Of all the fucked up thing they did, right? How effed up is that? Like that reached the peak. World War II reached the peak of human fucked upness, and everybody just realized, whoa, what the fuck? That's too much. And that like nuclear bomb, and everybody just calmed down, right? Now it's intensifying, but hopefully it won't intensify at the World War II level. But damn. Right, well, if you like my subscribe, and I'll see you next time.